I went from 20K in debt, an alcoholic, severe social anxiety, to now being completely sober for 6.5 years, having a multi-million-dollar network, having built a 7-figure plus business. And a lot of that is because of this work of manifestation.
What is manifestation?
There's 3 aspects around manifestation and regulating. We've got the universe wants you to be wealthy. Your nervous system is your money maker. It is dictating your entire reality. I went back home and 15 high ticket sales came through in 72 hours. And I think this is where the secret has deluded some people into thinking if you just get into like receivership energy, it will come. Without the action, there is no manifestation. It's not just, I'm so lucky and then you become lucky. It's like, if you're trying to manifest something, you are gonna go through this because this is the wave of life, right? We go through ups and downs. In that moment, you can't just lucky girl syndrome your way through that. How are you seeing the ups and downs in life? When something goes wrong, do you still believe that you're lucky? The only thing that stands in your way are the thoughts inside of your mind and the beliefs inside of your body.
Hayley Lloyd, welcome to In Her Era.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
So for the women listening who maybe have never heard of you, maybe never heard of the INAWE app, and maybe they're a little bit skeptical about manifestation in general, why is this conversation so important for them to stay?
Well, I don't speak about manifestation in like a very spiritual woo-woo way. It's about bringing spirituality more down to earth and having conversations that are about neuroscience, that are about metaphysics, that are about how the world is actually built and is literally co-creating reality with us. Like, this is how our biology is like, and our nervous system is co-creating with just everything that is in the ether. And this is like really turning into a new science now, as opposed to something that's just very esoteric and woo-woo that a lot of people don't believe in. This is becoming more and more rooted in real science. And you know, there's so many different directions that we could take this, but I really hope that people in this conversation start to understand that they have so much more control in creating the reality that they want to create purely by focusing on it. Because this has been like my entire existence. I went from, 20K in debt, an alcoholic, severe social anxiety, to now being completely sober for 6.5 years, having a multi-million-dollar network, having built a 7-figure plus business, closed that down, built another business. Like, if you had compared these 2 people, one from 6.5 years ago, one from today, they're completely different people. And a lot of that is because of this work of manifestation, but it's way less like, I guess, esoteric than you actually think when you get into the weeds of it.
Take us back there, because if we're talking about where you were, like you said, 6.5 years ago, because from my little deep dive research, you also were like a senior designer at Canva, which is like a dream job. Then you started a 7-figure business, and that you burned that down, changed that. How did we go from there to then teaching manifestation, being an app founder, and like what you do now?
Oh my God, I've got like full body chills as we're talking, I think, because of the answer that's wanting to come through. But I think a lot of this comes down to like what I was always meant to do. Like, when I was very young, I used to get like really weird paranormal things that were like happening to me, very, very open as a child. And that sort of led me, almost because I had such vivid dreams, my parents were like, you're not meant to have dreams that are this vivid, maybe we'll take you to the doctor. Because when I had a bad dream, they were like really bad, they'd stay with me for days. And so I kind of then learned, it's not safe for me to do that. So I shut down all of that. And so from about, I'd say maybe 16, I just didn't dream at all. And then I really went into repression. I grew up in the UK with a family that was very much like, do not speak about your feelings, just push it down. If something happens, you just stiff up a lip, you just power through. And that meant that when I did experience big T traumas, from like 17 to 24, I didn't have anything to do with that energy. And so I suppressed it, I pushed it down, and eventually I found alcohol, I found drugs, and I was finally starting to feel happy. And I was like, I can just use this. And I made a commitment to myself that I would never allow myself to feel that level of pain again. And I engaged with these substances to just push everything down. But the problem is, because I started relying on them so heavily, my social anxiety was getting worse and getting worse and getting worse. And it was just stacking and stacking and stacking. So I was also a very high achiever. So like, you'd look at the outside and be like, she had it all together on the outside. But it was like that classic thing of, on the inside, I was crumbling. I hated myself. I would look in the mirror and feel physically sick, like at what I saw in the reflection. Every single part of myself, I just tore apart. And so I knew that if I didn't leave London, where I was living at the time, I was going to die there, because I was like, I can't stop going out. I'm in this like really addictive like patterns and cycling. So I decided to move to Australia, but then my drinking got worse in Australia. And I was like, again, this really high achiever. So I was like, I built my own businesses in the UK, shut those down, because my inner world, when I tried to like go for new opportunities and stuff and I didn't get certain things, I would take that rejection very personally. I'd be like, there's something wrong with me. See, it validates all of the beliefs that I have about myself. I'm a failure. I'm stupid. I'm this, I'm that. And that meant that I, again, just kept on pushing things down, and then got over to Australia, was working at Canva, and, you know, it's an incredible company. But over the 2 years, so I was there for 4 years, and over the first 2 years, my drinking got worse because my social anxiety was like debilitating. You know, I couldn't have a conversation. There's not a chance I could have done this. You know, I couldn't have a conversation with 2 people in front of me without going bright red. My hands would start shaking, go completely numb. I would start sweating. I'd get this hot flush that would come over my whole body, and it would be like this red rash that would come up, and I'd start losing like consciousness, just berating myself in my head, being like, so stupid, you're so stupid, like say something. And I didn't realize that this was repressed trauma and social anxiety that was just making things worse. And so after about 2 years, I got to this point where I was like, I don't know whether I want to be here anymore. And it was like this New Year's Eve where I was like completely alone. I was next to this like pub that was having the most incredible time. There was like this guy on a microphone being like, this is the best party we've ever had. And I was just like crying and sobbing, being like, holy shit, I now get why people take their own lives. And I called my mum basically to be like, I don't know whether I want to do this. And she told me to take 3 deep breaths. And 3 deep breaths, like I didn't realize the impact of that at the time, but 3 deep breaths has the potential just to reset your nervous system, to bring a different part of your nervous system, you know, to calm you down a little bit and to balance your nervous system out slightly. And just doing that gave me enough space to be like, I'm going to wait until the next day. And then from there was like, okay, I'm going to try to replace alcohol with exercise, and really went into that, tried to start changing my life. And I was on and off of alcohol for about a year before I fully decided to like quit. But over that time, I got into a coaching program at Canva and realized that I had PTSD, undiagnosed ADHD, and then all of these things started clicking together. So I kind of got into a lot of healing work for necessity. Like it was like, I either heal or I'm not here. And so for myself, it was like I needed to start healing the social anxiety so I could have conversations with people. I needed to heal codependence, severe disorganized attachment styles in relationships. And during that time, you know, I got certified as a life coach. I did an EFT certification, hypnotherapy certification, breathwork certification. And over those periods, also started incorporating like the body, because I'd done 3 years of therapy and like nothing had like shifted anything. And it was only when I started actually incorporating the body that real shifts started to happen. And I started to notice that the more I was doing that, the more I was starting to like manifest, like mainly because I could take more action, because I wasn't so dysregulated. So that's when I set up my first business. I was like, okay, I'm going to actually, I first of all started helping people to overcome self-doubt, because that's what I was doing. I was doubting myself so hard. Then I was like, why am I not just teaching marketing? Because that's my whole background. My whole background is marketing and design. And so I then built that first business, which scaled to 7 figures per year. And it was going really well. But there was a certain point where I started realizing conversations I was having with people, it was never the issue being, I don't know what strategy to use. It was never like, how can I say the precise words? Because I could give people like an exact post to like go viral. And why would it be that 2 people would get wildly different results? It's because their inner world, which is actually the fuel behind all of our outer results, is dictating a different action and a different response. And so I started incorporating more of that into my work, even in marketing. And so I created something called Feminine Authority, which was the combination of outer authority, which is your marketing, and then your inner authority, which is like your inner world, like your nervous system and everything like that. And I started realizing that you could specifically start to target specific manifestation blocks. And so the more I did this, the more I was like, okay, I want to start manifesting a 10K month, and then a 50K month, and then a 100K month. And every like new devil and new level that I got to, there was these new problems that would like occur, and they'd come up and I'd have to face them, and I'd be really, really curious about what was actually going on in my body, like this dysregulation, this desire to procrastinate, this pullback effect that kept on happening. You know, I'd get so close to a breakthrough and then I'd ping back what was happening there. And then I started developing these different methods to basically start removing these manifestation blocks. But what they really are is an active fight or flight response that we just haven't completed. What happens if you start removing that from the body intentionally? And the answer is you remove it from the body, and then you can take more action. And then when you can take more action, you're able to start showing up in the world differently. You'll start to attract in different things because you're taking different action. And for a lot of people, they don't make any changes in their life, or they say, you know, I'm doing all this manifestation work, I'm saying the affirmations, I'm doing this, I'm even taking action all the time. But it's like, number one, are you taking different action? Like action that scares you and pushes you, because it's in the discomfort that we actually grow. And number two, if you've been taking different action and you've been doing the affirmations, then there is something in your nervous system that doesn't feel safe with where you want to go. And so it's going to push back and repel and stop you from going where you want to go until you remove that. And that removal is working with the nervous system. It's allowing your body to start to feel safe thinking about what could come. And so I created these processes which are inside the INAWE app that combine breathwork, somatics, subconscious reprogramming, tapping. And when you use those combined with like a mindset, it basically will help you start to take a huge amount of action. And I started helping my clients with that, and I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And for about a year, I really put off like this niggle at the back of my mind, which was like, we should be doing something else, because it was so easy to make money from doing this other thing, but something just didn't feel right. And so eventually I was like, I had this like come to my knees moment where I was in the middle of a launch and I had been doing everything that I usually do. And we were 2 weeks into the launch and there was like 72 hours left and we'd not made a single sale of like this high ticket mastermind. And I was just like, what is going on? And it brought up all of my old wounds, all of my old triggers, like everything. And I know from like a manifestation perspective, this is where you go through a quantum crumble sometimes before a quantum leap, because you need to make space. You need to make space for something new to come through. And the way that we make space is often through pain. It's through clearing something in our vessel. And so I had this moment, I went on the beach with my partner and he was like, you know, just explain to me what you're actually feeling. And I was like, I feel like a failure. I feel like I'm just showing up all the time and I'm scared of being judged and I'm scared of being this visible and I'm worried about all these things. And the truth of it is I don't even want to be doing this anymore. And I just like sobbed and I was just like, that's the truth of it. I just don't even want to be doing this. So I feel like I'm pouring all of this effort into something and I've been saying that I want to do it and I don't even want to do it anymore. And there's something else. And so I said to the universe, I was just like, universe, I promise if you can make this launch work and just turn it around, I will dedicate my life to the esoteric. I will dedicate my life to manifestation, to teaching people how to transform their inner world. And I went back home and 15 high ticket sales came through in 72 hours.
Wow.
And so it ended up being a really successful launch. But it's just that thing of sometimes it does take you to your knees to then be like, what am I really going to focus on? And I've received so many of those like signs and synchronicities where it's just like, I was shoved onto this path more than anything. And it just keeps on happening. The more I like surrender to it and I'm just like, you just tell me what you want me to do. The more like something will just come to me and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm doing that now.
Your story is incredible, going from what you've been through, especially like a complete rock bottom.
Yeah.
And then to where you are now. And I think you're so right. It's like a lot of what you said of that internal world, you had to create that internal world to then have reflection of external. And what I love that you've said before, because I do think manifestation and everything we talk about gets very woo-woo. It gets very like caught up in the like, just be high vibe, like just think positive thoughts and you'll attract positive things, or just put it on your vision board and then it will come into your life. But I love what you said about taking action. I love what you said about it was actually doing things in your body that created that shift.
Yeah.
So if we talk about manifestation from your perspective, just like really nutting it down from someone when we're explaining what is manifestation, what really is it?
I mean, manifestation just means to create, basically, to bring into reality something that wasn't there before, like to manifest something. That's all it means. And so the idea is that you can consciously start co-creating with this field, and there's science to show that we can do this. And the idea is that you are either unconsciously manifesting in your life or you're consciously manifesting in your life. And the reality is, whether we want to admit it or not, we are always manifesting.
Yeah.
Right here, right now, we're manifesting. We're not even thinking about it. We're manifesting. Sat at home, you guys are manifesting right now. You don't need to believe it. It's happening. And this is what is shaping your entire reality. And so we can either be an unconscious passenger in this reality and just decide that everything's happening to us. And this is where we can very much go into like victim consciousness. And Carl Jung very famously said, you know, if you don't make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you'll call it fate. And that is the premise of like understanding how to harness manifestation. Manifestation is just a word, but what it's really referencing is like, how do we actually start to co-create with like the energies that are at play. And if we really then go down into the nuts and bolts of it, really what's happening is our vibration, which is another like woo-woo term that people talk about, really it's dictated by our nervous system combined with our heart. So our heart has a magnetic an electric frequency that basically creates this like toroidal shape around our body, and that is also impacted by our nervous system, and that connects to our brain, which is creating our thoughts. So we're like a machine. We're this computer that is constantly creating these feelings and emotions, and our feelings are magnetic, and so they literally draw in things, and our thoughts are electric, so they set direction. And so if we think that we are this vibrating just sack of like cells basically, and we're not even solid matter, we're just vibration, we're all energy. If we know that that's us and we're made up of what our nervous system's doing, if you spend the majority of your day in a fight, flight or freeze response, which is a dysregulated nervous system. So say if, you know, you are going to work in the morning and you get cut off in traffic or something and your blood just starts to boil, you get so angry and then you don't let that go, that's a dysregulated state. You've gone into fight response. And that's is then creating your vibration. That's a very low vibrational emotion. And so it actually raises your heart rate, it starts to increase your breathing speed, and it takes you out of coherence. Coherence is basically when we're in homeostasis, and it's when we're in our most natural form. That's where we want to be. And when we're in that dysregulated state, we will attract in other things that are mirroring that vibration. So we'll start to attract in other situations that are also of that low vibration, because we have that feeling. It will then go to our brain and it will tell our RAS, our reticular activating system, which is the filter inside of our brain. It will say, hey, we just had this feeling and we love to be right. It's all to do with our ego. Can you bring in other situations that validate how I'm currently feeling right now? So if you start creating these thoughts just like, oh, of course that would happen to me. That would only happen to me. I'm so unlucky. Now I'm going to be late for work and this is going to happen. And then it becomes this dialogue that you're having mostly unconsciously in your mind. If you don't become aware of that, that's just then going to attract more of it. You're going to create more thoughts like that. You're going to have conversations with other people who are going to feed that. And then it doesn't surprise you when another thing happens and you say, oh, classic. Of course that's happening to me.
When you have a bad day, but then it continues to be a bad day and nothing gets better.
100%. It's just like this is a self-created prophecy that continues to just happen and unfold. And until we become aware of that, we just perpetuate it. Like we just get stuck in that loop. What they've done in this lab in America, and this was a plasma lab, and again, that plasma is the 99.999% of reality. And they were trying to understand how plasma related and worked with our consciousness. And our consciousness is basically the direction that helps plasma basically create and build this reality. This will make sense, I promise, why we've come back here. But essentially they had this hand. It was like this mechanical hand. And then there was like a plasma field that was like right next to it. And so this person that I know, Dana, she went and experimented with it. And they basically said, you know, just start to like play with this hand and it will just respond to your energy. And so she started playing with it, and the mechanical hand was just following her hand as she was just playing with it. She was really curious and everything. And then they were like, okay, do you want to know how it works now? She's like, yes, of course. And they say, it's playing with your curiosity. So it's starting to respond to you because you're not thinking about it too much. But as soon as you start thinking about it and you start trying to control it, you go out of, essentially, you come out of coherence, play, curiosity, and you go into thinking, which is more of like a heady vibration where you dip your vibration and your nervous system changes. So then she started trying, because she was thinking about it, even just subtly, she wasn't even trying to, the hand stopped moving. This is how we're co-creating reality. And so what they found is that this plasma resonance, it responds to when we are in a state of coherence, when we're neutral, when our nervous system is regulated. This is what heart coherence breath work is all about. When we're in that state, we are able to play, it wants to play with us. We can literally start to like speak things out to the universe and they'll start to come into our reality in the next couple of days. Like it literally starts to feel like magic. And this is one of those things that if we continue to just think that staying in a dysregulated state and living every single day, if you get home and you just literally are straight on your phone straight away and you're, vegetable comatose, like scrolling through, in a scroll hole, your vibration is going to be really low. And so unless if you start to shift that and you intentionally start to regulate yourself, become more coherent, even if you're setting direction with your thoughts, your nervous system's going to be giving off a frequency of, I'm too scared. I'm not safe to move anywhere else. Our nervous system just wants to feel safe. And so if we're constantly dysregulated, we're going to be doing everything that we can to protect ourselves, which often means stopping ourselves from taking certain action. It means even, there's two ways that we create blocks. It's in ourself through sabotaging patterns. But then the second part is like the universe will just respond to us and will either give us certain things or take things away. So there's kind of a dual thing that's going on. Anyway, that was like a long-winded response. You were like, in a short term, what's manifestation? And I was like, okay, let me give you the long answer.
No, it's good. I love research and backing it up. I think it's so true, especially because like from a health practitioner lens, nervous system cortisol dictates so much of the body.
Yeah.
But it's interesting from like a manifestation lens, it does too.
Yes.
And with regards to like being able to regulate your nervous system, you talk about that you can't, attract anything or call in anything when your nervous system is dysregulated, or your nervous system has to have the capacity to hold it. So how do we actually do that from a practical lens? So someone's at home, maybe, we have lots of ambitious, high achieving women. We're constantly striving, we're constantly thinking so much. How do we be able to drop in or increase our nervous system's capacity to be able to hold what we want?
This is a very boring answer, but it is by doing nervous system regulation work.
Yes. Tell us.
And, the most effective way, breath work is 300% more effective than meditation and mindfulness for reducing stress. And really, when we're talking about manifestation, if you have something that you want to achieve. So what's something that you want to, is on your manifestation vision board?
Let's say I want the podcast to be a top 100 podcast.
Okay, so let's say that is one of your goals. So there's going to be different levels that you're going to have to achieve in order to get that. So what's the thing? Let's say that you got an opportunity tomorrow to interview someone that was like one of your biggest idols.
Yeah.
What are you immediately going to feel?
Oh yeah, you feel like nervous, scared because you're like, what if I'm not good enough?
Right. So the thing that comes up for you is stress.
Yeah.
So if we are in this stress response because of the fears that are underneath that, like, am I going to be good enough? Whatever those things are, that is going to create a stress response. It's actually shown that if you have something like ADHD or trauma, just sitting in meditation without doing breath work actually can make things worse.
Oh yeah, because your brain races, and like I'm a chronic overthinker. Yeah. Brain's like...
Exactly. So to do something like breath work will regulate your nervous system. And there's three aspects around manifestation and regulating. We've got the mindset part of things, we've got the healing and regulation part of things, and then we've got action.
Yeah.
The mindset is really important, and that is a lot of the more traditional, the secret kind of things. It's like, what are you saying to yourself on a day-to-day basis? Like, how are you programming your mind? How regulated is your nervous system? Like, are you living in survival, in which case it's impossible to expand when you're just getting through the day? And how clean is your energy? That's your mindset, because it dictates how you see the world. Do you see everything from a cup half full perspective, or do you see it from a cup half empty perspective? Do you feel like everything is happening to you, or do you feel like it's happening for you or through you? If you drop a cup of coffee, does it ruin your entire day? Or are you allowed to say, I'm going to turn this into a good thing? If you lose an opportunity, do you go into a week of depression being like, why is this happening to me? I'm so sad, blah, blah, blah. Or do you say, I know that this is a gift and I'm going to find a reason for this to be the best thing that could have happened? That's your mindset. And if your mindset is low, or you constantly have looping thoughts of like, I can never do this, I'm not good enough, I'm going to fuck this up. Sorry, I hope
you can swear as much as you want.
But there we go. If you are constantly saying that to yourself, again, your reticular activating system, it will just filter for more of that stuff, and then you'll start to feel worse. You'll feel more anxious. You'll feel lower. You'll feel more doubt. That's mindset. So like, we need mindset. And sometimes, I blew up on social media a year ago or so when I started a new account, and I did do some healing work with that. But the big thing that really helped with that was that I took action every single day, and then I focused on my mindset. And for some people, it is as simple as get your mindset right and then take a load of action. And that can be enough for some people. But for some people, it's not. And I know for myself, and for most people, there usually is an energetic ceiling where then the second part is needed, which is like that nervous system removal of like fight or flight responses, which is a part of you when you were younger came online when you observed something or experienced something that wasn't safe. Maybe, what was the thing that you came up with just before around the manifestation that you wanted? You were like, what's the thought that came up?
Yeah, you feel scared, you feel not good enough.
Yeah. Okay. So at some point in childhood, there may have been something that came up for you, which was like, I don't feel good enough here. And so you were told, it's not safe for you to be seen at this level. It's not safe for you to try. It's not safe, I'm just throwing things out there, but it will be a load of those things. Unless if we look at those things and they're just active fight or flight responses and complete them, they just stay there. And so then it feels impossible to take an action. And this is where we create these upper ceilings for ourselves. You get an opportunity and then it gets taken away at the last minute. Or you get really close to a breakthrough, but then you suddenly get really sick, or you get really tired. It's your body literally shutting down. Or you get really close to a breakthrough and then suddenly you find yourself procrastinating. You're super overwhelmed. You feel really in your head and you start spiraling. And then you end up pulling the plug on something that you really love because you're like, it's clearly out of alignment. When it's not out of alignment, your nervous system is just dysregulated. Because of what's going on inside. So you need to then do the healing so that you can become more neutral around that. But then the integration with both of these parts is you need to be able to take a different action, because without the action, there is no manifestation.
Agreed.
And I think this is where The Secret has deluded some people into thinking if you just get into like receivership energy, it will come. Although sometimes once you have done enough action, the next best thing is to stop pushing and to just allow. Yes, that is removing control. But if you are wanting to completely transform your life, if you're wanting to, have a top-rated, top 100 podcast, it's not going to come if you're not making the podcast episodes. It's not going to come if you're not chasing down new clients. It's not going to come if you're not posting about the podcast, It's going to come through repeated action, repeated exposure, a compounding effect of taking the action over and over and over again until it works. And the thing with manifestation is as well, like, people often get to these moments where they're just like, it's not working, so I'll give up. The only way that it doesn't work is if we quit. The only way. And I think the biggest issue that people have with manifestation or misunderstanding is that when something gets uncomfortable, that it's wrong. And actually, things not working out or redirections is the prerequisite for a breakthrough. It is the thing that creates a breakthrough, and that only can come through action.
When you talked about the 3 parts of manifestation,
yes,
I think that's so helpful for people, because it's not just the mindset and saying affirmations. Because I think, do you remember like last year that lucky girl syndrome was like very, very popular, which I love. Like, it's saying affirmations, I'm so lucky. Best things happen to me all the time, because it is that seeing that cup half full. Like, we want to see it like full cup regardless. But I think, like you said, affirmations isn't the be all. Without the nervous system, without seeing maybe the subconscious beliefs that we had when we were younger, without getting out of this constant day-to-day fight or flight, no matter how lucky we think we are, we might not achieve what we want because our nervous system is like subconsciously blocking us. 100%. So that's when breath work comes in. So like daily breath work is...
So there's two parts of it. Daily breath work, I think personally, is going to be the solution to so many of our problems. Like if you actually look into the research of what it does, reduces ADHD symptoms and neurodiverse symptoms. It allows you to have a larger tolerance for stress. So triggers become way less. It increases just naturally. We all have something called a window of tolerance, which is our nervous system's ability to bounce back basically from stressful things. And how much tolerance do we have before we go into a fight or flight response? It just naturally makes that bigger. It also increases your CO2 tolerance. Our CO2 is actually the thing that makes us breathe. And most of us, 95% of the population, have a low CO2 tolerance. So if you struggle to hold your breath for a long period of time, so like over 30 seconds.
Hayley does Hayley does this breath and she's like, hold. And I'm like trying so hard.
Low CO2 tolerance. And interestingly, low CO2 tolerance is linked to a load of different things, including difficulty sleeping sometimes, not as deep sleep. It can impact how well you bounce back again. It impacts your nervous system's just general capacity and tolerance and resilience. And when you increase that and you increase, for example, how long you can hold your breath, that in itself, it balances the gases in your body, but it also increases the resilience of your nervous system. And so the daily breath work is really important. It also changes your brainwave state. So we're in a high beta right now. We're like
thinking.
We're doing lots of thinking. And most of us, especially on our phones all the time, we're just in high beta all the time.
Yes.
We go into theta when we're asleep, but breath work can take you, just daily breath work, to an alpha, sometimes even a theta state where you're actually really impressionable. And so in my breath works, I actually pair it with subconscious reprogramming or somatics or something to set direction. Because why change your brainwave state and then not use it?
Yes.
Breath work otherwise is like a sport.
Yeah.
But you can use it to manifest and like program you, because that's when you're more suggestible to like be programmed with things like, I'm so lucky, I'm a magnet, I'm abundance. Like it's going to work so much better if you're in that state and you're not in high beta and thinking about it.
Doing breath work to get our brainwave into less active form.
Yes.
And then those affirmations will be regardless, maybe it's like, I want to manifest X amount of money, like being really specific.
Yeah.
Does that help us manifest better because our brain is in a more susceptible state?
Yes. And I will say it's the way that you say things as well. So instead of I want, which is separation. So as soon as you say I want, you're saying I don't have it yet. So like from an affirmation, you want to say I am. There's a big part of like, this is all of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, which is like becoming your future self and like embodying your future feelings before you actually get there. You remember your future feelings. And so the idea is that you want to create, statements, and I call it an authority activating script, which is literally designed to speak as though you are your future self. So you almost delude yourself that you're already there before you get there. So coming back to that story around when I blew up on social media, when I started that new account, I did a 2-month period where I removed a load of visibility blocks because I was actually terrified of being cancelled. And I was bullied when I was much younger, and it created this like fear of mass people seeing me. And so I was just constantly, I'd sabotage myself. I'd get a little bit of viral growth on, my other accounts, and then I'd take my foot off the gas, I'd disappear for 2 weeks, or I'd start vanilla-ifying all of my content because I was just like, I don't want to be seen in that way. So I did 2 weeks of doing that. So I felt way more comfortable being seen, even being seen and not doing well, because I'd been seen as like, especially having like a successful business, I've been seen as succeeding for so long. To start a new account and for it to not do well was like, okay, I've got to be okay with that. That's a level of visibility. So I did a load of that, and then I basically used this authority activating statement, and I used my daily breath work and everything. And I basically deluded myself. I was getting 200 views on my videos. I had like 150 followers. And I remember calling my friend and I was just like, I feel like I have 100,000 followers. And I know that that's really crazy, but I feel like I'm already living in the end. And this is a Neville Goddard concept who teaches manifestation. And the whole living in the end is basically you want to live as you would and experience life as you would when you're already at the outcome that you want. So if any part of you today is saying, I want this, then you're not living in the end. And so that's basically what I was doing. I was just like, I already have 100,000 followers. Sounds delusional to say, but that is living in the end. That is being your future self. I was already embodied it. So I was showing up every single day as though I already had that. I was taking the action. I was posting every single day when no one was engaging, no one was like responding to me. And then within 3 months, things started going really viral, first on TikTok, and then Instagram followed. And now we're over 107,000 followers just on Instagram. And then we've got more on TikTok as well. But it's like that thing where if I hadn't been deluding myself with these kind of statements and like literally tricking my brain to believe that I was already there, I don't think I would have done it, because this is where like your current reality, if it contradicts what you're deluding yourself with, it creates this kind of conflict inside of you where you're like, wait, but my current reality, I've just said all these things, but I'm coming out and I'm clearly not there. And it's like you almost have to ignore it. You have to ignore that your current reality is disproving what you're saying, and you have to favor living in the end over like believing what your current reality is. You need to almost believe that this is like a stepping stone for where you want to go. And I've replicated this over and over and over again. And of course, there's like, this is why, again, the traditional manifestation doesn't allow for enough nuance, you know, because it's not just I'm so lucky and then you become lucky. It's like if you're trying to manifest something, you are going to go through this because this is the wave of life, right? We go through ups and downs. This is the purpose of all of our lives. We've come here to experience. It's the law of polarity. We go through these ups and downs. It's just so natural. And if we don't leave space for the inevitable downs where we're making space for something new, you know, if you say that you want to start manifesting loads of money through a new business, but you currently have a really horrible job with a boss that you hate that refuses to give you a promotion, and you're too scared to let that go, what's going to happen? The universe is going to take it away from you so that you can make space to do the thing that you actually want to do. That is part of it, but it feels so painful at the time because you have to let go of something that you love, whether it's a partner, a relationship, a friendship, a business, a job, money. Even sometimes you can have money that's not in alignment, and so the universe will get rid of that money for you to bring in money that's more in alignment. But it's like, then what is your headspace when you're in that moment? You can't just lucky girl syndrome your way through that. You know, affirmations aren't just mindset. And I think that's also really important to know, is that affirmations are great, but it's actually not full mindset. Like, mindset is, how are you seeing the ups and downs in life? When something goes wrong, do you still believe that you're lucky? And do you believe that this is actually part of the process? Do you believe that you're being prepared? Do you believe that this is happening for your highest good? If you can believe all of those things, your mindset's strong. But if as soon as something goes wrong, which is actually for your highest potential, and you go into a place of, why is this happening? It's not a strong mindset. And so the affirmations, it's paired with like all of that mindset work to really make sure that when you're walking through the world and these things do happen, you have enough nuance and space for these things to happen and not drop off, and not to quit and not to give up, but instead to be like, this is preparing me, you know. Last year I was sick for like, honestly, I was in bed for, I want to say like 4 months of the year last year.
Really?
Yeah, I was so sick. I had 2 surgeries last year. One of them was like completely botched, this dental surgery. I ended up getting like the worst nerve pain for like 3 weeks. I was in like the agony. And throughout all of it, I kept my mindset being like, I don't know why this is happening, but I trust that there is a reason. I trust that there's a reason, and I know that this will end, and I know that I'm in the tunnel and I'm in the void right now. But as long as I keep my mindset strong, not even positive, strong, I know that I'll come out the other side of this, because toxic positivity doesn't work either. You sometimes got to feel what you got to feel. Like if you're feeling shit, feel shit. But then keep a strong mindset, not a positive mindset. It's like cut past full perspective. This is happening for me, not this is happening to me.
When you were in that state, because I feel like when people go low,
100%. There's one that I actually, especially in my app, that I come back to. It's the I'm So Lucky one. You need to try it. Whenever I
do love that one.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
it's
so
my
favorite.
Yeah. It's so good because it uses like a mix of somatics and subconscious reprogramming. You're actually speaking out affirmations at the very end. It always completely changes my vibration and mood. And like even recently, I've been going through my own version of a quantum crumble, and I can always predict when there's a quantum leap coming, because the quantum crumble set of steps basically starts to unfold and things start going wrong, things stop working. You know, I literally just crossed 100,000 followers the day after I posted like my celebration posts. I had all of these posts that were still going super, super viral, but I had used the same audio from someone else's account on like all of these pieces of content because it just like helped in the background. It always did well. And literally that next day, Instagram did a massive cleanup of like all of the accounts. And so obviously one of the accounts that was the like creator of that music was removed. So all of the audio from all of my videos were completely removed like overnight. So growth stopped like that. And I was suddenly like, oh, what is happening right now, universe? And I went into this like, okay, I need to transform this. I need to see how this is working in my favor. And there was a load of other things. Like suddenly I felt really confused about a load of things. This is like textbook things that happen before a quantum leap. All of your old patterns start to come up. Classics started happening for me. Things that were working seem to like stop working all of a sudden. You start to get really confused. You're lacking clarity. Things start to go wrong. You start to lose things. You know, you may get the desire to like clean your house, to cut your hair, to like let go of like dead space, to make space basically for something new. All of these things are so normal, but it always feels like something wrong is happening.
Yes.
And so, you know, even things like opportunities coming to me and then not working out, and having this day where you get really attached to, oh God, that would have been so amazing. But you have to let that go when it doesn't work out and trust that there's a higher force that is guiding us. Like I believe that we've all choose the lives that we've come here to live, and we decide based on the lessons that we want to learn. And there are certain lessons that it's just inevitable that we are here to learn. But our 3D mind, because we do need time to like process this, we're here today like in this little box, you know, that's just experiencing our emotions and just feeling them on a day-to-day basis. If we could travel above our body and see like the full perspective of everything, we'd understand why we have to experience what we're experiencing now to experience what we get to experience in the future. And it's that same thing of like, if you look back on your life, you probably now with retrospect can understand why you had to experience some of the things you had to experience, because they helped you shape into the person that you are today.
True.
You know, all of the trauma that I've experienced, I no longer am like, this happened to me, I'm a victim. I'm like, I'm actually glad it happened because it pushed me onto the healing path. It pushed me to have these experiences so that I could be sat here right now. Like I was watching this podcast the other day, I think it was on the Lewis Howes show, and it was this guy, his name's Gary something, and he's like a life coach. And he was talking about, you know, he was just talking about like manifestation, and he was talking about like the way that we craft our realities and stuff. And I was like listening, and about halfway through, he told this horrific story where he basically ended up through no particular fault of his own, through like a business thing that went wrong, and he was ended up like sued. He was basically put in prison for 6 months in like a crazy prison cell. And as soon as he said that, I started listening. I started trusting him. I was like gripped. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I trusted him so much more because he had a painful story, you know?
Totally.
And so this is the thing, like I know as well through people that have worked with me, my story resonates with so many people because I've been through pain.
Yeah.
And we can't understand it at the time when we're going through it, but we're not meant to. And this is what Steve Jobs said. He said, you know, you can only connect the dots looking backwards.
That's one of my favorite quotes.
Exactly. And it's like, it's true. You can never predict what's going to happen. But if you had that perspective, you would just trust that everything's unfolding in the way that it's meant to unfold. And if something is truly for you, it will always come back around, even if it feels like it's not. And so we're always meant to go through these like little dips. They're just part of life.
I have a tattoo on my ankle. So when I was younger, I went through like a rock bottom of health, like lost incredible amount of weight. Doctors didn't know what was going on, and I got an arrow tattooed on my ankle because when life draws you back, it means it's going to propel you forward to something else.
Yes.
And I feel like if I didn't go through that journey, I would be nowhere near where I am today. I wouldn't be doing the work that I'm doing. I wouldn't have this podcast. I'd probably just be like I'd probably be a doctor and doing the basic things that I thought I was meant to do. So I really do believe as well, you can't see where your life is going, because when you're going through it, it's shit. everything is crap, probably like you when you were in your rock bottom as well. You're like, why am I going through this stuff?
Yeah.
But when you connect the dots, I also believe that looking back, it all makes sense.
Yeah. 100%. It does. It's hard, but that's the mindset and the consciousness that we need to bring into our daily life. Like that's the mindset part of like, that's what takes you from to me of like, why is this happening to me? Like, why is this happening? Like, it's so frustrating going into victim, calling all your friends, being like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And just repeating it over and over and over instead of being like, I don't know what the reason is, but there's a reason that I'm going through that. Immediately that takes you to for me. Or at least by me. Like by me is like, you know, it's happening by me. For me is like, this is happening for my growth. Like the different levels of consciousness that you go through. Getting to that for me place is like having full empowered responsibility that everything that's happening to us in this life right now, no matter how hard, no matter how painful, is preparing us for something greater. And so even in these moments of complete confusion, of complete what the fuck, like throwing your hands up to the sky and being like, God, please help me. In those moments, there's a reason for that too. And we all go through it, you know. I'm going at the moment through, I've got endometriosis and it's a really, really, especially when you're trying to conceive, it's a really hard journey. To be like constantly having these health issues and to have surgeries and for things just not to be working or healing in the way, like I could be like, why is it so unfair that like this person doesn't have it and this person it's so easy for, but I know that this is my journey and I've chosen it. I believe that I chose this life and I don't know why I've chosen it yet. And yes, there's grief, you know, that comes with this journey, but it is also a part of the journey that I trust there's going to be a reason for it later down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think having those tools like you have and your toolkit, I think allows you to navigate things like that a lot more, like endometriosis, the pain, like the fertility struggles, it is so hard for women. And I think we can get in that victim mindset and it's so natural to be in that way because of what you go through.
100%. I just realized that I spoke about the daily breath work, but I didn't speak about the longer breath work for removing stuff. So, you know, the other really great thing about breath work as well is that when you intentionally hyperventilate, like you do in like a holotropic breath or a breakthrough breath, it basically unlocks like this medicine cabinet in the body and it switches your brainwave state. So it actually takes you, so it turns off the thinking mind. And this kind of magical thing happens. You know, if you've ever noticed you got really stressed and you need to go to the toilet, that's because your body's actually started switching off. And so they call it the last thing to develop is the first thing to turn off. So last thing in, first thing out. And so when we hyperventilate, our body starts to switch off in order that they were actually developed in us. And the last thing for us that developed was the neocortex, the thinking brain. So it's the first thing that goes offline. This is why when you're really, really stressed, you often shouldn't make a decision because you're actually not thinking clearly. And so when you are in these holotropic states though, your thinking brain goes off and all of the discomfort, you do have to go through a period of discomfort to like move through and purge through things. But then you get to this weird stage where like the breath starts breathing you. And it's this very spiritual experience where they call it the spirit of the breath. It's just like, it just comes into your body and it's like it starts just finding all of the areas that you need to release and let go of. And it just starts to purge things out and people start shaking uncontrollably. You get tetany in your hands. You start getting visions, experiences, you start crying, laughing, hysteria. You know, there's all of these different things that start to happen. And what that's actually doing is it's completing active fight or flight responses. And you can either go in with complete, you know, breath work is often lucky dip. It's whatever your body wants to let go of. But you can sometimes give it direction and you can set an intention, which is what we do inside of the app. It's like if you specifically know that you have a visibility block that's creating a load of fear whenever you go to pitch to a client or whatever it is. If you know that you've got that, you can take that feeling because the procrastination or the discomfort, it's a feeling in the body. You don't even need to know where it comes from. But if you just take that feeling into a holotropic breath or something that includes like at least somatics, then you're going to allow that to be completed and removed from the body. And then you can reprogram it through subconscious reprogramming, through somatics, through visualization with something else. Work really is the way that I found is the most effective for just daily manifestation, regulation, keeping you in that more coherent state, but also for proper block removal as well. But it's also want to really stress it's not just breath work. Like it's breath work paired with some of these other modalities that I think makes it incredibly effective.
If we talk about, because I think about blocks, a lot of people have money blocks.
Yes.
Money, I think, is a conversation that lots of people have a lot of shame around. It's taboo, especially for women. I find people don't want to talk about money. People are like, oh, I manifest my relationship, or I manifest this career thing. But money is hard for people.
Yeah.
So when people talk about manifesting money, what comes up, and I've heard it or experienced it myself, is when you want to make more money and you're working so hard. You're taking all the action, but the money doesn't come in. Or you make more money and somehow, where does it go? More bills come in, expenses rise, you are at the exact same place. So I see that in myself, and I've heard it for so many other women as well. What is going on here when it comes to money, manifestation, money blocks?
Yeah. I mean, I see money as the most spiritual journey you can go on, because especially if you are a spiritual person, you may have gone through this period of like just completely being put off by money. But then there's often like this reclamation of realizing that it's all about like the universe wants you to be wealthy. Like it's literally just an energy, and we just give it programming. So if you think that money's evil, if you think that money's blah, 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 then it's going to create the reality that you live in. So with money, there's something that's happening on the top, which is we have our money programming. And that's like the society that we grew up in. That's like the parents that we grew up in. It's just what we saw. It's what we observed. It's what we heard. That creates like our money program. And that just like sits within us. Underneath that, because we learn certain things, so we don't actually develop a relationship with money when we're young. Our parents have a relationship with money. And so between the ages of 0 and 11, our primary need isn't to have money, it's to belong. Because as we're one of the only mammals that actually is completely useless without parents. You know, when we're a tiny baby, we can't take care of ourselves. We can't go to the toilet by ourselves. We can't clean ourselves. We can't feed ourselves. We are completely at the whim and mercy of our caregivers. So for us as a tiny baby that comes into this world just like babbling and unable to do anything, can barely see, what's our number one goal? It's to be approved of by our family. It's to be loved by our family. It's to make sure that we're doing everything right so that we don't get rejected from the tribe. This is a very primal instinct. And our nervous systems haven't developed fast enough to understand that we're living in cities now. They still think that we're living in the wilderness and we're being chased by saber-toothed tigers, and that being rejected by the tribe means certain death because you're going to get eaten by a lion or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's just where our nervous systems still are. And so when we're over those years and we learn, okay, I need to belong, we just start to absorb all of the beliefs of our parents. And so we observe our parents having a relationship with money and we say, okay, I want to be like them because that's safe if I agree with them with everything. And so I'm going to absorb all of their beliefs. Okay, I see that in my society, it's safe that I'm at this level of wealth, but anyone that kind of goes above that, they're actually shamed or they're cut down or they're whatever, and I don't want that to happen to me. That's not safe. So this is what's safe for me. So we create this program, and because of that program we then create these money blocks. And these money blocks basically come in these 4 areas. And so I see this as like an infinity symbol. And we kind of want to create this flow of money that is constantly flowing. And the 4 areas of money are attracting money, receiving money, holding money, and circulating money. If we have a block in any one of those areas, it's going to block the flow of money. And so that program is basically interacting with money in these ways. And so if we have an attraction block, that is all to do with action. So attracting is like, what are you doing in the world that's going to attract something in? So if it's inevitable that if you take more action, you're going to receive more back. That's kind of inevitable. Like if you do more, you're going to get more opportunities. And a really big part of this actually is visibility. Like how safe do you feel being visible, being seen? And if you actually think of like the wealthiest people in the world, and I'm not necessarily talking about like old money here, I'm talking about like new money of people that are actively creating money today. You know, attraction again is about making money, not necessarily having the existing money. But like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, what do they have? They have so much visibility, whether that's in the press and people constantly throwing shade at them, constantly speaking about the actions that they're taking, constantly tearing them apart, for lack of a better word, whether it is visibility within their company, making difficult decisions like firing loads of people, hiring people, replacing people, making decisions that affect the company at the whole, they're having to make those decisions in public with people watching them. They are so visible. The amount of visibility that would make probably the majority of the population shudder, because we're just like, I just don't even want to experience that level of stress, right? Because it's a stress when we're experiencing something new, and having that many people watch us, judge us, criticize us, have an opinion on us that we have no say in. We have no say in any of those things.
Yeah.
So if we want to make more money, it's inevitable we're going to have to become more visible somehow. And this doesn't mean that you have to become the loudest person in the room. It just means that even if you are a quiet person, you're going to have your work seen somehow. You're going to have to put yourself out there. You're going to need to pitch yourself so that you can be more visible and have an opportunity come into your world. And so if you have any of these blocks, fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of criticism, that stop you taking action, create procrastination, avoidance, whatever it is, you have an attraction block. And that's just where I don't know how to make the money come in. It's just not happening. People aren't reaching out to me. You know, I can't seem to find like the right job. I'm always like missing out on it, whatever it is. A lot of that can be attraction, or any sabotaging block that stops you taking the action. You know I want to create a podcast, but I'm stopping myself because ... As an attraction block. And then we have receiving. So attracting is just bringing it in, but how do you feel actually receiving what it is that you want to attract? So this is where often guilt around receiving comes in, and giving. So this is the combination of like receiving and giving. And for some people, this actually becomes allowing and taking. So for example, like let's say that when you were young, your parent like went into your room and tidied your room for you. And then later they were like, I tidied your room for you, so can you do this for me? It creates this internal resentment of, wait a sec, I didn't ask you to clean my room. So I feel like that's not her giving. That's like, I feel like you've like just done that for me, and now I have to give. And so that's not true giving, that's allowing. And so then when they try to give in that, it feels like it's actually being taken from them. The energy is being taken. And so some people, they can get into this relationship with receiving where it's like, I actually don't want to receive that because I don't know what's going to come on the other side of it. Or for some people, receiving comes into guilt paradigms around like, do you feel guilty receiving a compliment? Do you feel guilty asking or receiving help? You know, if someone comes to you and you're cleaning out your warehouse or something, and they're just like, hey, do you want a hand? And you're like, no, oh God, no, no.
It's me.
Yeah. Receiving block.
It is.
Receiving block, my friend. And so when we have that receiving block, it blocks the flow of money there, because if you could receive more support, you could probably do things faster. It's also going to affect the amount of money that you create, because we often have these upper ceilings. It's like it's very funny how like different areas of our life will mirror money. So like if you feel guilt in relationship around receiving certain things, you will probably have guilt receiving certain amounts of money in different dynamics. Then we have holding. And holding and attraction blocks often go together, but holding is all about like, what do you believe is going to happen when you receive and get the money? Who do you believe you're going to have to become? What do you believe you're going to have to do in order to have this money and to hold it? This is why a lot of lottery winners, they lose all of that money in the first like couple of years, because their capacity, this is really the capacity part of it. It's like, is your nervous system able to hold that amount of money? And so we all have something called a finance or income thermostat in our body, and that is our nervous system's like safe zone. This is what I deem to be like a safe amount of money that can flow into me. I feel like I can manage this, and I don't feel like I have to change. Some people's thermostats, like mine used to be set to like debt. And so it's actually safer for some people to not have money than it is to have money. And a lot of this comes to belonging. Because if I change, if I become the kind of person that has more money, will my parents still value me?
Or my friends?
Will my friends still like me? Will I lose the people around me? And we start to understand that it actually has nothing to do with money. It's about perceived change, or this is a big one, pressure or responsibility.
Yeah.
So this is often where you'll get a lot of sabotaging patterns around, okay, you know, I want to make a load of money. I want to reach my first $100,000 month. And then you start thinking about, what are you going to have to do in order to get there? Like, what are you going to actually have to, what action are you going to have to take? Are you going to have to take on more clients? Are you going to have to, again, this is all belief system, but do you believe you're going to have to become more busy? Do you believe that you're going to lose your freedom? Do you believe that you're going to, what have you associated growth and more money with? What have you associated expansion with? if there's anything where you feel that you are going to lose something, your nervous system is going to be like, that's not safe, so I don't want that. So I'm going to push that aside. I'm going to push that down because that's not safe. That's where we ping back. It's the ping back effect. And we end up at the same place with the bank account looking exactly the same all the time, no matter how hard we try. Bills seem to come out of nowhere and take money out as soon as like it comes straight in. We can make all this money, but it never seems to like build in the bank account because we constantly have higher expenses and we just spend it immediately as it comes in. This is often a holding problem. And this can also just cap people. This is why it's closely linked with attraction as well. So if you do say, I want 100K month, you're at 50K right now. If you start going towards that and you're like, oh, I feel like I'm going to have to take on a load of pressure and I'm going to lose my freedom, you're going to stop attracting money. You're going to start procrastinating. You're going to actually start doing those attraction blocks again because the fear of I'm going to lose my freedom has come up and it's overriding your actions. It's making the body feel not safe, so it's stopping you taking the action. And then finally we have circulating. And circulating is more of like your typical like relationship with money. It's like, how do you actually feel about letting go of money? What's your relationship with money comes into your bank account? Do you just hoard it away? Do you spend it as soon as it comes in? Do you, because of dopamine? Are you like a purger where you hoard it for a while and then you let it go all at once? Do you know what's going on in your bank account? Are you avoiding your bank account? Do you feel comfortable looking in there? How do you feel investing money? Because you notice like the more money that you make, it's all about being able to hold letting it go. So to make more money, and the wealthiest people, they're constantly investing. If you listen to like Mr. Beast speak, it's absolutely fascinating. He talks about the fact that on his episodes, he makes like a few million. And then for every new episode, he invests the same amount. So he actually isn't making that much money because he's constantly reinvesting it into the next video, the next video, the next video. And it's the same thing with, I think it's SpaceX and Elon. I think he was very, very close to SpaceX actually not working out because he was reinvesting everything. And then something worked and it eventually, things really started moving. But it's like, in order to make money, you have to invest money. Whether that is, especially when we're like, I think it's really hard for coaches or for, new business owners that are in like the service space. We often think that we shouldn't be investing money because it's actually quite easy for us to make money. But if you think about a product-based business, in order to make any money, you have to make the product first. So you have to invest it. You have to let go of money. And if you can't let go of money, or you feel terrified of letting go, or you feel like as soon as it leaves your bank account, it's never going to come back, that's going to create your reality and it's going to create fear around letting go. It's going to stop you growing because you're going to miss opportunities because you're not willing to invest. And we do need to invest in our knowledge. We need to build our skills. We need to invest in our energetic capacity and we need to heal ourselves. That's, for us, like in the service space, those are the three areas. We don't even need to think of a product. We are the product. Yeah. So it's like, what can we do to expand? Your number one prerogative as a service-based business owner should be, what can I do to make my internal world wealthy? That's it. That is your number one goal. Your nervous system is your money maker. It is dictating your entire reality. And if you are not willing to like sit with that and expand it, it will, as Carl Jung said, it will dictate your life and you'll call it fate. You'll be like, it's so easy for them. To make money. It's all right for Elon Musk. He's got all this money. It's easy for him. It's all right for this person. But it's like, if you actually listen to some of their stories, you start to realize like some of them started from nothing. Yeah.
Most of them started from nothing.
And it's like, we all can create this story of what we see someone experiencing right now, but you don't see the beginning. And I mean, this goes into a whole other conversation about like quantum leaping and stuff, but a quantum leap is never actually a quantum leap. It's the one moment that we see that is actually a compounding effect of all of the years of action that someone has taken invisibly when no one's seen, all of the times that they've been rejected, things didn't work, they've maybe gone bankrupt, they shut down businesses, they pivoted to something else until one day something worked. Have you seen that Jessie person that's going super viral? Yes. She just had like a couple of $1.2 million launches. But what people don't talk about really is the fact, and amazing for her, so fucking expansive and inspiring that you can create something like that. But she had like a 10 plus year career online before. You know, she was doing binge eating. She had over 140,000 followers on that account. And so then all of those followers followed her to the new account. And it created this like ricochet where everything just like exploded. But it was right time, right place, right topic. It was her quantum leap moment, but people don't see all of the compounding effect of all of the relentless action that she took consistently before. That's so inspiring. I'd love to see her speak about that one day, because I think it will be so expansive for other young people and whatever stage of life we are, to really realize like it's not just one moment. It's like it's years of dedication and commitment, and we can all do that if we're willing to commit to consistently kind of evolving us. So those are the 4 areas of money. And if you have a block in any of those areas, it will completely shift your relationship with money. I have a quiz so that people can actually find which area of that money they're the most blocked in. So I'll give that to you as well.
We'll drop it below,
you can pop that into the links.
And then understanding the money blocks, is it going through those 2 types of breath works, like those deeper breath works and then those daily breath works, to help support and basically unblock those money blocks so that we can create what we want?
Yeah, exactly. I actually have a money challenge, which is happening inside of the app or the membership at the moment. And it basically goes through that process. So it's over 5 weeks, and over 5 days, there's going to be, 2 days of awareness building, 1 day where we're going to be removing blocks, and then a couple of days where we're going to be integrating and expanding, which is basically where you take the action, and you're going to be really encouraged to take a different type of action. We're unblocking each of those 4 areas. And so, a big part of it is like building the awareness. The second part of it is, what's your mindset around this stuff? If you are constantly saying to yourself, I never have any money in my bank account, like money doesn't flow to me, it's nice for them. Remember, your RAS is creating your reality. So you need to change that. We need to get the mindset right. We need to create an authority activating script. You need to start saying different thoughts to yourself every single day, creating new neural pathways. There is literally like a glue in the brain that when we start to repeat a thought over and over and over again, it will start to prioritize these new pathways and literally build these new pathways through the brain that prioritize the new thought that we're saying. We have this neuroplasticity. We can literally do that for ourselves. We need to be doing that. But then you want to be regulating yourself so that, if you are going for more money, you're not just feeling like stressed and you're in survival all the time. This is always my thing with people. If someone's just, I'm so overwhelmed all the time, what do I do to remove my money block? I'm like, you need to regulate first.
Breathe.
You need to do 7 days of like regulating. Sometimes trying to expand from dysregulation will just create more dysregulation. And so the first thing that people sometimes need to do is just regulate. You just need to spend 7 days bringing your nervous system back down to homeostasis, back down to a balanced state. And once you're there, then you can really be, okay, how do I feel? Now let's change my mindset. Now let's start doing the deeper work and having a look at like, where are my blocks? Okay, so I found a block. You know what? I've realized that I used one of mine. Like, I was really scared before I started making my first ever 10K months. I was terrified that if I started making more money than my dad, and this wasn't conscious, but if I started making more money than my dad, that I'd lose his love because every year he would, give me some money for my birthday. And so I already live on the opposite side of the world. We don't have a huge amount in common. Like, I love him so much, but we're not operating on the same frequency. Like, he doesn't believe anything around, he's a classic eye roller, around what it is that I teach. And this was one area that I was like, this is our connection. And so I was sabotaging myself. I was put 10K months on my vision board, and I started feeling so sick by it. I put it underneath my desk. I was like, I can't even look at it. I started sabotaging. I was pushing back launches. I was like, I don't even want to do these launches anymore. I was like, what is it? What ends up like being the reason that I'm doing all of this? Actually, clearly I have a money block. And so I went into a meditation with a practitioner, and we realized that, I had this block of like, I'm terrified I'm going to lose the love of my father if I start making more. Healed that, removed that, somatics, breath, EFT, same things that are in the membership. And 2 months later, I had my first 10K month. It's like it actually, and again, like the action was a big part of that. Then I did the launch. I didn't just like sit there and wait. Okay, I'm healed now. It's like, no, I then did the launch. I took the action. I showed up every single day. I noticed when I was trying to sabotage myself, and I brought awareness into it. And I was like, I'm going to trust that there is a reason that this is coming up for me right now and I'm going to push through.
Yeah.
You know, or if I need to and I can't push through, I'm going to take it into a flow and I'm going to regulate my body and then I'm going to take the action.
Yes.
But it's the action that creates the results.
Yes.
For large amounts of wealth anyway.
I love that. And I think it's combining everything that you've said. It's definitely, it's not just one thing. It's not just the breathwork nervous system. It's the mindset. It's taking the action, like those 3 parts. And I think a lot of people get that wrong in the manifestation space.
Yeah.
So if you could leave the women listening with one thing, one piece of advice, if they want to call something in to their life, what would it be?
There's an exercise that I did the other day that was really fun. Which is really impactful actually. And it's to basically write out 300 things that you want. And you'll probably get to about 75 and you'll be like, I don't know whether I can really stretch to like think of other things that I want. But these can be really small things. It can be like, you know, I want to grow my hair to my butt. It can be like, you know, I want to meet someone that's famous, or it can be, you know, I want all my family to live really healthy lives. Like it can be whatever you want. But it's a really great exercise for clarity of the things that actually light you up and make you feel expansive. And it also doesn't have to be in the next 2 years. This can be like when you're 80, you already know that I've got on mine, go to space. Like I want to go up there so bad. Yeah, exactly. And so this exercise for me, when I did this, it's just because knowing what you want is really important, setting that direction, but putting pen to paper is really powerful. I did this 2 days ago around the full moon, and about 4 things on my list have already come through in the most like serendipitous ways where it like blows my mind. And this is that thing where like the universe is always listening. But if you then look at that list and you go through it and you start thinking, oh, I don't know whether any of that will actually happen for me, that is your work. Because I just want to remind everyone that you can create any reality that you want. The only thing that stands in your way are the thoughts inside of your mind and the beliefs inside of your body. It is your inner world. And you can either let it dictate your reality and you can be a passive passenger in your life, or you can decide to do this work. Change your inner world. And I don't even mean become someone else. I mean become more of yourself. Become more authentic, less fearful, less held back by blocks. And you will be able to achieve anything. But also know that on that journey to create whatever it is you want to create, you are going to experience ups and downs. And that's okay. And it's part of the process. And I just hope that people just really know how powerful of really magicians we are. Like we're witches and magicians. We have this incredible medicine cabinet inside of our body. We, in the Western world, have lost so much knowledge and wisdom that Aboriginal tribes and people have around what we are capable of, what the ether actually is, what we're surrounded by. And we're only just starting to realize it. But I believe in the next 50 years, this stuff is going to not be like a taboo woo-woo thing. This is going to be robust science. And we're all going to be realizing just how powerful we are and how much we can actually achieve when we start to change how we are showing up in the world.
Oh my gosh, so good. Hayley Lloyd, I have loved having you on. I've loved this conversation. Before we finish, everyone who comes on opens her file.
I love it.
And there are 3 questions that allow us to get to know you a little bit more.
Okay, great.
The woman behind INAWE, everything that you teach.
Oh, wow. I love this.
So pick one that resonates the most, read it aloud, and answer whatever first comes to your head.
Ooh. I feel like I'm going to do what's something life has been teaching you lately. I feel like part of my mission in this life is to help people navigate these weird dips in life. And I am just constantly reminded that it is in the struggle that we grow. And I've said this throughout this, but I've had a few weeks of struggle, and not where necessarily things are going wrong, but just internally there's been a lot of emotion and feelings of frustration, pain, impatience around certain things on my journey, which has led to a lot of confusion and doubt. And with all of the tools that I have, I am able to use all of that feeling to like just go into the depths of those feelings and really feel everything. But without fail, every single time, there is a moment where I'm just like, here we are again. Like, what is this about the constant up and down of life? But it's not just me, it's everyone. And in one of the days that I was feeling really low, I saw someone's story, and she was saying that she was having a difficult time. She's a very close friend of me, but we hadn't like spoken about it. So I reached out to her, and I was like, you know, I'm sending you so much love. Like, remember that in the dips is where we grow. And she sent me a message, this long voicemail, and she just told me about all of this stuff that had been happening behind the scenes that you just do not see.
Yeah.
That very successful woman, you don't see the stuff that's going on. And she put me into a group with this other person, and again, someone else going through so much stuff. And it's in that moment that I just felt so connected to like other women, and like how, like, I was almost crying listening to the messages, just being like, oh, it's not just me. And I think that's one thing that life is always teaching me, is kind of, we all go through these moments, whether we talk about them or not.
Yeah.
And someone is always going through something with you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes one conversation, whether it's with a close friend, a partner or something, to alleviate the pressure, to release like the pressure cooker that goes on inside your mind, and just to have a moment of what it really is to be human. And I think the difficult thing about this life is it is the pain actually that makes us human. And whether we like it or not, I do believe we've chosen to come into this life. Like, all of our souls have chosen to come into this life. We're all going to go through something at some stage, whether it's a very, very small thing that just pisses you off during the day, or whether it's a really big thing that happens in your life. The pain is why we've come here.
Yeah.
And it's what we do with the pain and how we navigate it that will dictate how we come out of it. And, you know, this was something that happened a few days ago, and literally just in the past 3 days, absolute magic has occurred. Like, it's these little things where as soon as you start to realize and you surrender to the discomfort of like, this isn't happening to me, this is happening for me, I trust that there's a reason for this, things start to unfold. The universe is actually in those moments of darkness that sometimes the universe shines the brightest, where we get the strongest signs, we get the strongest messages from spirits, we get the most profound spiritual experiences. And so one thing that I want to leave people with as well is like, always ask for support. You know, if I hadn't asked, like, whether this is a person or whether it's God or the universe, whatever, ask for what you want. Like, don't just sit there and assume that you just thinking it is enough. Like, write it down, say it out loud, ask a friend. And you'd be surprised how quickly things can move when you actually put things into action.
Oh my gosh. So good. Hayley, I have loved this conversation. We've got all your details, links in the show notes, so that, because I'm sure after all of this, everyone's like, I need the app, I want the programs, the money challenge, so they can all find it.
Yes.
But thank you so much. I have loved this conversation.
You're so welcome. It's been an absolute privilege, honor. It's been such a great chat.